Hi everybody, it's Dandruff with your news Cartridge for Thursday, August 16th, 2018. Welcome to Thursday, and oh boy, today is part 3 of the continuing Filip Muicin story, and you're going to want to stick around for that coming up next. For all other stories today, timestamps and reference links can all be found in the description below. I really wish I would have saved that video of Filip's non-pology video, because it would be great to have that clip of him challenging Kotaku's Jason Schreier to keep looking for more plagiarized reviews. I would be playing that clip over and over again. Let's start at the top of this mountain of crap and work our way down. IGN is removing all things written by Filip Muicin in the last couple of months because of the magnitude of evidence being brought forward against him. It would seem that there is much to be found. Looking very much like caveman Philip DeFranco, Filip Muicin has been found to not only have 1, not 2, not even 3, but tens of articles and reviews that have been plagiarized. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if that number hit 100. The list currently sits at this, and I'm going to do it all in one take. Dead Cells, FIFA 18 for Nintendo Switch, Metroid Samus Returns for Nintendo 3DS, but we've already known about these previously. These ones are new. Doom for Nintendo Switch, Skyrim for Switch, Bayonetta 2, Super Mario Odyssey, Shantae Half Genie Hero, Octopath Traveler, Fire Emblem Heroes, Pokken Tournament DX, Mario vs. Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Sonic Mania for Switch, Abzu, a review for Switch hardware covering HD Rumble. This guy really likes Nintendo Switch, too bad he was so disrespectful to it. A YouTube video about why Nintendo doesn't have a strong launch lineup. Another YouTube video about him covering a Hori fight stick for Nintendo Switch. And that is just what I could find in the first 20 minutes of looking. I'm sure there's plenty more. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that he copied his LinkedIn page directly from a website that helps people create job resumes. Even his credentials are fake. IGN says that they will be reviewing all material taken down and may put some of it back up, and will be looking into redoing some of the major games that Muicin was responsible for. Hey buddy, remember how I said to take a couple of years off? I don't think you have that option anymore. Before anything else today, head on over to Humble right now and pick up Orwell, a game highly recommended by Whiskers, absolutely free of charge. The offer is good for the next day, so be sure to act quickly. Here's something really cool starting with release announcements. Nintendo has a love of fishing, and coming soon to Nintendo Switch is a fishing game by Bass Pro Shop. It turns your JoyCons into a rod and reel and gives you a similar action to not only casting, but reeling in your line. No catch a release window on this one just yet. Out now is a companion app for Final Fantasy XIV to assist with things like chat windows, events, and inventory management, including selling things on the market to other players. It's now available for both Android and iOS. I hope you're still playing Pokemon Go, because I sure am, and coming up soon is the next Community Day event on September 22nd. On that day, you'll be able to find Chikorita much more often, and it will be the first time any trainer will be able to catch a shiny one. The next 2 events are coming on October 21st and November 10th. Here's some big news for fans of the TimeSplitters series. Your ears do not deceive you. A new TimeSplitters game could be on the horizon. This comes from the acquisition of the IP by Koch Media, owned by THQ Nordic, from the previous owner of Crytek. The very fact Koch Media is interested in it in the first place probably means they have an idea for a future game. As some of you may know, TimeSplitters 4 was announced 11 years ago, but then was no longer in development 5 years later, when Crytek announced the game would no longer be happening. Now, only if I had a time portal so I could travel back in time to the future and see if TimeSplitters 4 ever happens. I've got some mod news for you, and it's one that I've been asking for the last month or so: an always online server mod for Stardew Valley, so you can play with your friends around the globe at your leisure. This is the solution to my biggest problem with the multiplayer update, and it completely solves it, though there are still a few kinks to work out, but the game does pause when no players are playing. One problem they're facing is relationship statuses are dropping while somebody else is playing and you're not. They're planning on fixing this by freezing those statuses in place for each individual player who isn't playing. When I have some time, I'm going to check this out and see how hard it is to get a server going. Happy dedicated server farming. Moving on from there, we have Viveport, a PC game store selling only VR games owned by HTC Vive, adding Oculus Rift support. Up until today, the store only offered games for the Vive, but now developers for the Rift can apply to sell their games, and an overhaul of the site should take place on September 4th when games for both platforms become available. The subscribers of their subscription service, allowing access of up to 5 games at a time, will be allowed to choose from these games too. And somewhat related to that, it seems Valve themselves are going to be adding more support for Linux games. Now, this is a great thing. First, for my friend Yemto, who prefers to buy games only if there's a Linux version available, but 2, for SteamOS. Yes, don't forget about SteamOS. If you aren't aware, or if you've forgotten by now, Valve has created and maintains their own operating system, which is essentially their own version of Linux, which you could install as a base operating system on any computer and turn it into essentially a Steam machine. This will come in the form of a Steam compatibility tool, which will allow for easier interaction of Windows games with things like compatibility and abstraction layers like Wine. If those words don't make any sense to you, then you probably don't need this. Also, because it's Valve, who knows when this is going to be done. What it would do is allow for games to work on Linux even when you try to trick Linux into thinking it's Windows. I know that's not exactly what's going on with Wine, but please don't crucify me. From what I hear though, certain games work better than others, with PUBG not working at all, unless you want to jump through a ton of hoops, but even then, if you get it working, you may not have good performance. And as much as a Linux user doesn't mind jumping through a couple of hoops, it would ultimately mean you don't have to do that, so less tinkering means more time for gaming, and more compatibility is something really hard to complain about. Are you a Linux gamer? Let me know your distro in the comments below. This one's a little bit weird, but I felt like I had to share it on my show. The Bards Tale 4 is releasing in a couple of months, and by wishlisting it, you can determine the price. I'm not being sarcastic here. There is nothing underhanded or sleazy about this in any way. You don't have to buy the game, simply add it to your wish list. Once 100,000 people have done so, they will include the torch from Darkest Dungeon as an in-game item. For 300,000 people, the price of the game will lower to $34.99 US. And once it hits 500,000, the price of the game drops down to $29.99 and includes a piece of free DLC. Again, there is no downside to this. This is not only a great way to advertise your game, but get people interested in it. This kind of reminds me of the Deus Ex Mankind Divided augment your pre-order bullshit that went on last year, except nobody's forcing you to spend any money or buy anything that isn't released yet. So go ahead and please add the Bard's Tale 4 to your Steam wish list. Even if you don't buy it, it's still going to help out those who are looking forward to it. Finally today, and holy crap, this is a bunch of news to cover, we have one last piece of Valve news, and it's a steamy one. The developer of Negligee Love Story, known as Darker Studio, was trying to release his game on September 7th when he submitted it to Valve and got back a response he had not seen before, considering he had released many games onto Steam previously. Valve said, quote, "We are right in the middle of building some features into Steam for our customers to be able to choose the type of products they see in their store. Your game has content in it that needs these features to be completed and shipped first. You'll have to do some additional store page work around describing the content in your game once we have completed these features. We don't have an exact timeline for those features though, so please be patient as we complete the work." Now there's a lot to break down in this message. When he replied back to Valve asking how long this would take, weeks or months, they replied, "Assume months at this point." For the time being, this is not good for devs who make adult games, and Valve could be doing this for a couple of different reasons. First, those devs who make sexy games in order to make a quick buck will be discouraged by having to wait a couple of months, meaning less crap on Steam. Second, once those tools are in place, the developers will be able to tailor their descriptions of their games more specifically to their customer base, meaning less crap on Steam. And third, for those developers who don't want to take on the extra work, or developers who are blatant about their game having questionable content, may not make it to sale, meaning less crap on Steam. The only problem, and this is a big one, is Valve has to actually get off their ass and finish this. Yes, working on it over a couple of months will deter those less persistent people, but working on it longer royally screws those developers who want to make sexy games because they like to make sexy games, and I have no problem with those games. This is actually evidence of Valve sticking to what they said about providing tools specifically for this kind of content, but I do notice that there are still plenty of games that release onto Steam that contain adult themes. Just go look at all of the upcoming game releases and it won't take you long to see Valve's inconsistent practices added again. But I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell on this one. How do you feel on this one? Do you mind having to wait a couple of months for better sexy games? Or do you feel like Valve should complete their projects before they impose them on developers? Please share below. It's time for that special hug known as tomorrow's game releases. For PC, Death Fungin, Cash Rush, Drunk Fu, Wasted Masters, and Mind Over Mushroom. For PlayStation 4, Persian Knights, Sands of Wonders, and Treadnoughts. For Xbox One, Polygod, Treadnoughts, Drunk Fu, Wasted Masters, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, and Persian Knights, Sands of Wonders. For Nintendo Switch, Polygod, Detective Gallo, Treadnoughts, and Persian Knights, Sands of Wonders. Thank you very much, everybody. This has been News Cartridge. I am Dandruff. I will see you tomorrow. And my friend David lost his ID. Now we just call him Dave. I lost my druff. just call me Dan. Click over here to watch the last episode, which was about the RTX 2000 series, allegedly coming next week. That link is in the description down below, and click over here to subscribe to my wonderful, wonderful channel. Thank you. See you tomorrow for Friday. Bye-bye.